This is true for all markets, whether it's a really small market in a rural town or a very large area in a big city. Whether you've been in business for 0 years or been in business for 10 years. We're going to talk about the one thing today that can be true for every single company size, no matter what your location is, that's going to explode your business, and that is market domination. Welcome back to another video. My name's Brian, and I help people improve their painting businesses. Today, we're going to talk about market domination. So first things first, what does market domination even look like for you? Across the board, it's going to be different for every single person, but today we're just going to talk about what the actual concept is by definition and what it can look like for you and your company. After we do that, we're basically going to talk about why you should be perceiving that way and why it can help you. And then we're also going to look into the awareness factor on what you yourself are actually doing on a daily basis. Are you actually operating at a high level, or are you kind of spinning your wheels on certain tasks throughout the day? So after we kind of do all of that, the one thing we'll kind of do to wrap things up is just kind of give you some best tips and practices on things that you could be doing yourself as you kind of grow and scale and dominate your own market. All right, so let's dive into it. First things first, what is market domination? What does that look like for you? Before I give you that main definition, it's kind of relevant to talk about one of my experiences with this, because it was about 6 months ago that I actually found out of this person that has his own painting company, and he actually employs over 180 in-house painters. So he doesn't subcontract anybody; they're all his employees. And I actually shadowed the guy for 2 days. And whenever I went down there, I was literally by his side from 6 a.m. to about 7 p.m. every single day. And I basically just was a sponge and soaked up literally everything that he was doing operationally on a day-to-day basis. I got a chance to ask him questions, talk to every single employee in his company, everybody on the office end, some crew leads, did site visits with him, sat in on his phone calls, everything, you name it. And one of the biggest things that kind of stood out to me was their brand presence in their town was freaking amazing. I've never really seen a company that really had that much market dominance in their small town. And whenever I say they were dominating their market, that's honestly kind of an understatement for them. And a clear example of that is I was in his truck. It was me and him. And he was like, Brian, you see where we're driving around right now? We're driving around down the straight highway. And if you can picture a 4, 5, 6 lane highway, on both ends there's commercial buildings, banks, Lowe's, hotels, restaurants, stuff like that. Literally everything you can think of in a busy, long stretch highway. And he said that most people around here call this Southern Touch Alley. And what he meant by that, he's like, Brian, 100% of these buildings that you see on the inside and interior, or the exterior and interior, we basically painted it all. So in terms of painting, flooring, some trim installs, repairing, sealing, power washing, you name it. This guy literally dominated everything, and the amount of the relationships and brand presence that this guy had was mind-boggling and unreal. So, in other words, that's kind of what I wanted to kind of talk about first is how can you be doing that in your market? His town, honestly, it's it's in North Carolina, and it's really not as big as you would think. Meaning the city that I'm in is probably a little bit bigger, and whether or not you're in a place like that or in a small country town, I have seen examples of people that have really truly dominated their markets and grown their business pretty respectively, no matter what their circumstance or situation was. So one of my favorite quotes, or kind of ways to perceive it, is that that guy that I was with, he says, what did he say? He was like, Brian, I want to be the only one doing the work. Meaning if he was talking to a property manager, he knew that they were probably, working with several other painting contractors for their work. And especially whenever you get to some larger contracts, it could be $500,000 a piece. It's kind of tough to find just one person to rely on for solely everything. but that was kind of like the perception that he had going into it. So he basically wanted to be the only one doing their work. So he basically touched base with every single person every single week, like every 10 days maximum. And he literally just was like their one-stop shop for everything. So what he told me was that in terms of market domination, like you don't want to be doing everybody's work, because like there's obviously some customers that you might not want to work with. They might not fit with your ideal customer. But like you want to be doing you want to be the only person doing the work for whoever your customer is. So the key to market domination is not doing everyone's work, but being the only person doing your customer's work. So in other words, like that can mean that you don't have to truly say yes to literally every single person that walks through your door for a job to have a dominating presence. But like if it's a property manager, a general contractor, or like really large account, if you truly want to be the only one doing the work, like you got to show them that you're eager, that you're hungry, that you can take it on, that you can do a good job. So in my opinion, the actual market domination ideology is just having like that mantra that like literally the best is the standard for whatever you're doing, and that you can approach it professionally, respectively, better than anybody else can. So again, biggest factor number one for market domination is to be operating and acting like and perceiving everything as if you are the only person doing the work for your customer. If it's a residential customer, touch base with them every month. Like you want to be the only contractor that they're going to touch base with and have do work on their home throughout their entire lifetime. Like it's not just like a one job, let's paint it and we're done. Just maintaining that relationship, growing your list, and building the relationship with everybody you do work with really is the key factor for growing your company long term. So the second thing I wanted to touch base on was, why is it better to approach and perceive it this way? So in simplest terms, in my opinion, you're either doing one of two things. It's very binary. You're either growing or you're contracting. There's no in between with whatever you're doing operationally, meaning, like you're either going to do better than you did last year or worse. Like the odds of you doing literally the same exact thing that you did through an entire 12-month span is pretty low. So if you approach it with a market dominating mentality, and you're actively pursuing every single customer like you're the only one that's going to be doing their work forever, like for your lifetime, their lifetime, your company's lifetime, then you're always going to be growing. Like if the second you stop approaching it that way is the day that you start to contract and then start to lose work, lose customers, create more mistakes, more problems. Like you don't have the ability to kind of like promise you and your crew and your team, work year round, stuff like that. It really does get kind of dirty and like crappy if you don't have that mentality. Sooner or later you're going to be like either plateauing or on the downward scale. So in other words, like, yes, it's really great to have it. It's your duty and your responsibility, not only to you, but to your team and your family, to like be always growing and just doing everything you can to your customer base. So reason number 3 is, are you operating at high levels? Like right here with this, I want to dive into the awareness factor. So, how aware are you really of like what you're doing and like what value you're giving to yourself and your company in terms of like growing and like working on systems and just in general servicing you and your customers a lot better. And the biggest thing that I like to do as like a practice is to just get like an actual calendar, like agenda or notepad or like whatever you want to use. And for like 1 week straight, every single day, just kind of like document what you're doing every single hour of each day that you're actually working or like quote unquote working. If you do that and you later assess it, you'll basically realize one of two things. Like one being that, like, wow, you're actually not getting as much done as you probably could have. Or like, you probably have a lot more blank space in your calendar, or like you're on Facebook or like kind of like messing around too much, or you're in the car driving and there's a lot of downtime and you're not making any phone calls. Whenever you do that, you'll either 1, figure out how much you're not doing, or 2, give yourself a confirmation to you and yourself that you actually are, busting your butt and putting in literally everything you can. So yeah, just kind of like to back it up a little bit. Be personally aware. Like, what are you doing every single day, every minute, every hour, and are you being productive or are you not? If you're truly busy, you know, are you actually doing stuff that is considered high hourly rate work to like grow and expand your company? Or are you doing like, smaller tasks that kind of just like take up a lot of your time that don't generate revenue? Whether it's like you like physically going to stores, picking up material, um, just like whatever it could be, like or like data logging, entry logging, just like things that kind of like are time suckers on your end. If you're the one stuck doing that and like you're not aware of it, you're really not going to be able to grow optimally how you think you should and you want to be. So yes, just the awareness factor. Figure out if you're operating at a high level or not, and if you're not, I strongly suggest trying to get there, or if not, at the very least, find somebody who you know is, and then fly down and shadow them like I did. Because doing that was the biggest eye-opener, and after seeing what he got done in 2 days, I realized it's more than I got done in 1 month, and it just like blew my mind and changed my perception forever. Last but not least, let's talk about some of the smaller things that you could be doing along your way as you scale to like maintain your dominating presence in your market. So just kind of like think, if you can boil it down to one thing, it's basically making sure that you're relationship focused and that you're servicing whoever you're building that relationship with. That's honestly everything that comes down to it. Again, whether it's a residential customer that you're doing work for every year, like one time a year, one time every 5 years, whatever it would be, you want to be the only person doing their work. If it's a property manager and like they throw you $200,000 of work a year, and that's like recurring routinely every month, then how are you maintaining that relationship? Like, do they know you? Are you in front of them every single month? Do they know your face? Like, are you visiting their office and dropping off stuff to like, give food to their office every month for 1 day or something like that? Just in general, like, I think like the fact that you're focusing on the relationship is you're not only validating the trust with you and them, but like you're just like giving them the reinsurance and credibility that like you're still there, you're always there, you're still hungry and you're always hungry, just for work and to service them and help them grow their operation at the same time. So I think my biggest thing is just touching base with every single customer. That's the first thing that you can do to kind of maintain your brand presence. Again, if it's a residential customer, send them something every month, touch base. You can send them a newsletter, you can send a simple email, you can create an excuse to like knock on their door and do like a free 6-month inspection of the work to make sure it's looking good. Whatever you got to do to stay in front of your customer, just do it. If it's a commercial customer or a property manager or a general contractor, like every single month or every 60 days or 90 days, stop in their office. Like, give them a gift. Like buy their entire staff or like whoever's in there, something for like lunch or like a snack or something like that. Like those little things go a long way, and generally the more memorable and unique it is, the more that you stand out in their mind, and the stronger the relationship is with you and them, and they're more willing to keep on tossing you work, assuming that you can actually maintain the quality and service that they're looking for. Whenever it comes down to it, people really don't want to work with more than one person. Like for me, if it was me on the other end, if I can work with just one person and not have to deal with like finding people, testing them out, dealing with turnover, looking for other people, I could save a lot of time, hassle, and money, honestly. So, why not do that for other people? So, assuming you're focusing on the relationship and like the customer and maintaining the service quality, the next thing that I think would be huge that you can focus on to maintain your brand presence is just giving back. So whether that's you getting involved with like your churches, like doing free repaints for people, you can like repaint a museum for free. You can dedicate it to somebody. You could what else? just like help be a part of like your local YMCA or like softball teams. You can give back to the homeless. There's millions of ways that you can get involved with your community specifically, and depending on like what state or like what city you're in, there's something unique to your specific area. So like odds are, assuming that you can like budget that into the actual like operation for your company, you giving back, like that gets you involved, it gets people talking, and like, you know, that again, that relationship factor, you're building it with your community. And that goes a long way whenever people are actually wanting to like, you know, look for reasons to stay with you, to support you, and like go out of their way to maybe pay a little bit more money for a service, you know, just to get some stuff done, because they know that they're not only helping you and you're not helping them, but you're helping everybody else. So it's a win-win. So one, touch base with everybody all the time, maintain a relationship. Two, give back to the community or anybody in general. And I think the last thing I want to talk about is just utilizing all avenues. So the little things you can do for maintaining your brand presence is just being everywhere at all times. So with social media, nowadays, you got Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, you got TikTok that's coming up. You have just emails, you have direct mail, advertising, billboards, you have like literally everything you can think of to just be in front of your customer. You know, like the whole goal should be omnipresence. Like if you can figure out a way to be everywhere at all times, they're always on your mind. You know, like that's how you generate that relationship and do work for somebody forever. Like Coca-Cola, Nike, like they literally do that all the time. Like they're just advertising, and then whenever you think of like soda or like shoes, they're gonna pop in your head, and you're probably gonna spend money with them later on. So like same concept with your service business and painting business. Just get creative, utilize all areas and avenues, even if it's like one thing every day, and just give everybody a reason to be there at all times. So there you have it. That's market domination and brand presence in a nutshell. It really is a game changer. Again, I've seen people take their companies to be doing like $20-30 million in like rural areas. I've seen like a small country town company get to like $1 million in revenue just by utilizing these practices and stuff like that too. So location, you know, depending, you can still do or be successful and do great things, and have a reputable company that not only you are successful and proud of, but your community and customers are as well. So until next time, my name's Brian, and I will catch you in the next video. Talk to you later.